Hello everyone and welcome to Wrestling World Domination Remastered. My name is Bob Hazelwood. Tonight we revisit our interview with the great Exotic Adrian Street. Adrian started wrestling in England in 1957 at the age of 16 and continued working until June of 2014. Adrian estimates he had somewhere between 12,000 and 15,000 matches over those years. He and Terry worked together in Alabama's Continental Championship Wrestling promotion. This episode originally aired on April 23, 2014. It has been slightly edited for content. You might notice that this episode is a bit shorter than many of our other episodes. At the time this was originally recorded, the show was broadcast live, and we had a set window for show length. We spent the first third of the show trying to reach Adrian because Terry gave us the wrong number to reach him. Twice. I'll have an update on Adrian after the episode, but for now, enjoy.
Well, man, I'll be honest with you, okay? I was going to break bad on you, and I was going to just lay it all out there. I was explaining to the guys that you did cheat with the loser leave town. That was the only real problem that I had. I hit you with a Sleeping Beauty, and you were actually knocked out, and I got a little greedy, so I whipped you in again, and you couldn't even make it to the middle of the ring. You basically passed out, and I went through the ring ropes and took out 3 rows of fans and almost killed myself. And then when I got back in the ring, you pulled my trunks to the light of the crowd in Alabama. So, you know, I can't fault you for cheating.
That's what they call ring gentlemanship. You see how patient I was, not wasting any energy until you came up and sort of thought in your sort of strange little imagination that you could actually get one over on me. I've been wrestling for a long time, and I would rather, the art of wrestling is the art of positioning, and Napoleon Bonaparte said it best: never interrupt an enemy when they're making a mistake. And that's exactly what I did to you that night.
Well, okay, touche. I will definitely give that to you. But did you make a mistake the first time that I broke Linda's arm in the cage, by any chance?
No, that was your mistake, because I'm sure you remember what happened to you as an aftermath.
What, that'd be the second time I broke Linda's arm?
Yeah, that was your second mistake.
Yeah, okay. Well, got one more quick thing to say, and then we'll get into some other things. Is, you know, I always thought it was kind of strange that, you know, you claimed that that was your music, and everyone knew that I wrote that music and I sang that music. I sold those albums, right there.
I don't know what you're smoking, mate, but don't blow any over me.
No, in all actuality, Adrian,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'll tell you something. No, in reality, and this is something I'm sure you will agree with me, I had a lot of great opponents back during that time, but I would say that you were the best.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
You were the best.
I mean, that's a compliment, but that you couldn't give me more. Almost brought me to tears. And to be honest, you were my role model. I stole from you. I tried to take what I saw you doing and put my own spin on it, not do your spin.
Well, I'll tell you something. You achieved that because there's been other pretenders and stuff like that, like Adrian Adonis and what's that other kid's name? Dusty Rhodes' son.
Dustin, yeah.
Goldust. They all tried, but they failed miserably. I think that you came the closest by putting your own twist on it.
Well,
you
don't know what that
the other
means.
two just never grasped the point at all.
Well, that's a very, very high compliment, because even before you came to the States, you were a huge European star. You were used to wrestling 60 minutes. You taught me the art of being able to get into the ring and wrestle for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I had experience, of course, before our feud, and it started as a singles feud. I thought that it was mapped out really well. We had free reign over what we did pretty much. We would talk it out, and our matches, the thing I remember the most about them, Adrian, is the other wrestlers watching them. They would come out into the arenas and line up on both sides, whether babyface or heel. They would stand and watch us wrestle, and I'd go to the back and they'd say, "My God, you were beating the hell out of each other." What did you do to piss him off?
I tell you what, when I went back in the dressing room, all the guys, I tell you what, none of the other wrestlers would ever miss 1 second of our match. And whenever I went back, they'd say, "Jesus Christ, like, what did he do to piss you off?" Like, "Oh my God," like he sort of laid into him. And the thing is, if you can impress pros that have been in the business for years and everything like that, bearing in mind that there's so much jealousy in the business, every one of those wrestlers would have been so damn jealous of the both of us, like being in main event position all the time, and they could only aspire to it. Bearing in mind the jealousy that there is in this business, I took what they were saying as one hell of a compliment, and the thing is, it just shows how well we sort of carried our job out, which is what it's all about. And like you're saying, long matches and stuff like that. A short match in Britain would be 30 or 40 minutes.
Right, and that would be forever in the States. Even in the 80s when we were wrestling, everything was geared towards TV, and we were only on an hour show, but we had 15 minutes of that show, every week. And very little of it was talking. A lot of it, most of it was in the ring. Sometimes I would wrestle an opponent, and then you would come out and wrestle an opponent. But many times it was Beauty and the Baroness versus Adrian and Ms. Linda, or Beauty and the Beast later in the Dothan Cage match, when we brought Mark in. And that really is when the people popped.
Whatever happened to Big Mark? He was a monster, wasn't he?
He was very talented, man. He was a drummer. He drummed for Loretta Lynn for a number of years. And he could also build anything. He was a carpenter. But he and his wife divorced, so he got custody of the kids. Mark was one of those guys that kind of lived off the radar, no credit cards, an unlisted phone. We kept in touch for a long, long time. And then all of a sudden his numbers were disconnected, and I've not heard from him in a number of years. I've tried like crazy to get a hold of him. I love him like a brother. We rode up and down the, road together like you and Linda, just not as many years and not as many, you know what I mean?
But,
coffee breaks.
I didn't know the guy, actually. I mean, I wrestled with him, but I didn't actually know him. You knew him, but, you kind of opened my eyes a little bit, because I could imagine that he was living in a cave somewhere now, sort of gnawing on sort of grizzly bear bones or something.
Well, actually, he managed when he broke in, he managed a wrestler by the name of T.J. Khan. And he also managed for a very short time in Memphis the Midnight Rockers, who were Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, before they became the Rockers in the WWF. They took him from that, gave him about 6 months off, and then he and I thought up the Beauty and the Beast gimmick because of the movie coming out. Jarrett gave us the pink mat. That was a Dundee and Jarrett idea because of the old Garvin pink mat. But I'll say this, you know, I was just telling Bart before, when we were having trouble getting hold of you, that you know, I always tried to make it a show or a production, and I learned that from you. You know, some people would say we were hard to work with because we acted like we were the star of the show, and we were. At least in my eyes, I was. And, you know, nobody was going to rush me into anything. I was going to do my thing, and I learned that from you. You know, you put on a heck of a show before the matches ever started, with the music, the dance, and
the thing is, people came there to be entertained. The problem with wrestling now, and even then, there was too much talking in Europe, and especially in Britain. Do you know how long any wrestler would actually speak on television?
10 seconds?
Never, ever. They did all it was nothing but action the whole time. People used to write in and say, like, you know, what does Adrian Street actually sound like, you know, when he talks? The thing is, they soon found out, because of my popularity on there. I was soon doing, like, TV variety shows. I was doing TV films, TV plays, all kinds of stuff. I was on, I'd spend as much time doing different people's shows, like the Rolf Harris show, Freddie Starr show, Eamon Andrews show. I was a regular at Pebble Mill on one. There was a show like 1 o'clock. If I happened to be passing on my way to a wrestling match about that time, I'd just pop in there, get paid a shitload of money, and I could go there anytime I wanted to. The show was from 1 o'clock till 2 o'clock. If I happened to be passing by that time of the day, and I made sure I was very often, you know, because I used to get some good money out of it.
Well, nothing much changed from Britain to Memphis or whatever territory, because you always were paid a shitload of money.
Well, you know, I mean, quite honestly, when I first started wrestling, I think for the first match I ever had, I was main event first match I ever had, but my payoff was probably about $5 at the time. In actual fact, I've written all about this in the 5 books I've written so far. I'm writing number 6 at the moment. The only thing that would have prevented me, I love wrestling so much, the only thing that would have prevented me from wrestling for absolutely nothing is that if I'd wrestled for nothing, then I couldn't call myself a professional wrestler. And then later on, obviously, when I started making you know, when it was actually my full-time profession, obviously I was interested in money then, because I was married by the time I was 21. I had a baby on the way already. I soon had a family, two sons and a daughter. And I needed money. And not only that, I felt it was like a yardstick, if you know what I mean. The more money I could make, the more I felt like I was becoming somebody, like I was becoming important. You know, obviously, if they didn't pay you much money, then it means that, you know, then to me, it meant that you didn't really mean very much. But if you could command like a good price, and that is the way that, you know, that is the way I saw it.
Right. I don't know if people know this or not, but you're actually a very, very, very talented artist. You can draw. I've seen your paintings. They're phenomenal. You can paint. As a matter of fact, we talked on the phone, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, and at that time you were painting carousels and selling them, and for big money. Not only that, as you said, you've written 5 books. You're writing the 6th one now, and you're doing them yourself, not like a lot of these guys who have ghost writers and publishers. And I think that's great, because who knows you more than you? And I've known you for 26, 27 years, and you're probably one of the most interesting men I've ever known inside or outside of the ring. And your story's phenomenal, where you came from in Wales and the coal mine and just everything,
It just put me in mind of something. You were saying that the movie Beauty and the Beast came out, and that's where you got your name from. And the funny thing is, talk about a Cinderella story. That is exactly what my story was. I mean, I never had much of an education. My dad had me out of school. I didn't like school anyway, so I was always playing truant, and I was so disruptive in school that nobody ever sent a truant officer after me or anything like that. They were really happy that when I didn't go to school. But my dad had me out of school working in a coal mine when I was 15, when I was just 15 years of age. And he said, I remember him saying to me, I said, I don't want to work in the coal mine. If it's good enough for me, it's more than good enough for you. And he was determined that was going to be my life. So I ran away from home when I was 16, went to live in London. I had a job first of all, but then I lost it, almost starved to death. I was boxing on a booth. I was fighting on a booth anywhere between 4 and 7 times in one day, and I was getting about $2 to $4 a fight.
Wow.
Yeah. 4 to
what
7
year was
times
that?
in a day, and I'm not a boxer, I don't box. I mean, I can punch like hell. If anybody's stupid enough to still be there when my punch lands, then they deserve what they get. But quite honestly, like a lot of my punches were so wild, people sitting in the front row were more dangerous than my opponent. But nevertheless, I put up with all that determination to become a professional wrestler. And my books are full of stories like that. Talk about a Cinderella story. And the thing is like a lot of people have wanted to be Cinderella since, but there's only one pair of glass slippers, and they only come in my size.
Yeah, you're the belle of the ball. I'll give you that. A lot of things came to mind. Yeah. There's 3 or 4 things that really came to mind, and we'll get into those in just a minute. But guys, Bully and Mr. Big Bob, I don't know if you know this or not, but Adrian and Ms. Linda make wrestling gear these days. Anything from robes, tights, boots, you name it.
We don't do boots anymore. We used to, but I've given that up. The thing is, I've cut back on certain things. I was making belts, but they're so time-consuming. I really, really, really want to sort of finish my autobiography. Like I said, I've got 5 books written so far, and they have taken me from a time I was just like a little kid. My first book is called My Pink Gas Mask, and it's after a gas mask. A little pink gas mask I was given when I was 3 years of age in Britain during the war. I was really frustrated. My mother wouldn't let me play with my pink gas mask, and she says if I let you play with it, you're going to break it. If you break it when Hitler drops the gas bombs, you'll suffocate, you'll die. when is Hitler going to drop the bloody gas bombs? I mean, nobody liked Hitler in Britain anyway at that time, but I mean, I was really mad at him because I wanted to play with my pink gas mask. That was my first book, and
right.
You know, that was like my childhood leading up to running away, you know, working in the coal mine, all that kind of stuff, and running off to London to become a professional wrestler. I mean, I was involved with all kinds of people. It was full of gangsters. London was full of gangsters and everything at the time. The Cray brothers were just sort of raising their ugly heads. I was involved with a guy called Freddie Arbeiter, who was a professional wrestler for a while, but I mean, he was a gangster that everybody was afraid of. I worked with, I did some business with a pornographer who is presently in prison. He's in prison right now. He went to prison in 1969, and he's still there for stabbing one of his male models 89 times.
Wow.
But basically, what I've written, all my books are an autobiography. You know, they're not sort of necessarily just wrestling books.
Right.
They're an autobiography. There are stories about me, and I happen to be a professional wrestler. So obviously, there's an awful lot of wrestling in them, because that is what I do, and that's something that I guess it's sort of helped make me sort of interesting. But I mean, my books are full of all kinds of things. I mean, I've been big game hunting in Africa, all kinds of adventures.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I said. As far as, you know, I've known a lot of wrestlers. I've known not a lot of talented wrestlers inside the ring and outside the ring. You know, there's several guys that can act. There's several guys that can draw or do artwork. You can do all that. You've been in movies. You design clothes. In fact, you did the wardrobe for the movie The Wrestler. You know, you outfitted Randy the Ram, Mickey Rourke.
Yeah.
You know, that you know, alone is a amazing story. Who does Hollywood come to when they want to make a movie about wrestling to outfit the wrestler? Adrian Street, of course. And,
well,
you know, I found that
a reputation of being the best. You know, we make costumes for different showbiz people, obviously mostly wrestlers, because that is my background, and I made costumes for myself from day one. But we make a lot of costumes for circus people and what have you. And like I say, if you'll see in the first book that I've written, when I was a child, I started making costumes for little mannequins I used to model out of plasticine from the time I was about 3. So okay. I've always been into costumes, and I've always loved like different kinds of warriors in history, and you know, like Red Indians and Zulus, and anybody that's sort of colorful and stuff like that, and got colorful uniforms and costumes and all that kind of stuff. But I've always designed stuff for myself right from day one. All my costumes that I've ever worn, I've designed myself. And, you know, when the big glam rock sort of thing started, I've been asked so many times, oh, you know, glam rock, did I invent British glam rock? And my response to that is, no, I didn't invent British glam rock, but we sure as hell borrowed a lot off each other. And the thing is, I made costumes, I made designs and things like that that were worn by Elton John, Gary Glitter, Adam Ant, Mark Bolan from T-Rex, for instance. When he was interviewed on TV one time, they said, like, oh, you know, where do you get your ideas for, like, these different costumes and the makeup and everything you wear? He said, from watching Adrian Street wrestling on TV.
Well, that makes sense. I'll never forget the first time that I actually walked in the dressing room and you were painting your face, and it was an artwork all of its own. It was a butterfly, and it had glitter, and The only thing you didn't do was Linda put your hair up. I remember you, Linda, put my damn hair up and screaming and hollering at that. But you basically sit in front of a mirror and your face was a canvas, you know. And when I came in, you were kind of amused by me. Then I made you mad. Then I really made you mad. Then I broke Linda's arm, and the butterflies went from butterflies to skull and crossbones, and you went from the pinks and purples to the blacks and change. You know, it was like a metamorphosis. And, you know...
I always dress for the occasion, dear.
And, you know, it was funny because people used to ask me, you know, out in bars and everywhere, that, you know, they'd ask me, are you twisted, boy? Are you gay? And I would always revert to the Adrian Street line. Why are you asking for a date? Now, sometimes, you know, you may have to fight over that, but that was okay with me, too, you know.
My response very often when people ask me that, I had a number of responses according to like the tone or how I was asked. You know, you get, oh, really? When anybody tries to infer in any way, shape, or form that I'm effeminate, it makes me want to scream. That was one. Another one is like, are you gay? I said, no, but my husband is. Or last but least is, are you gay? No, I'm not gay. I only help them out when they're busy.
Okay. Now, see, that's the kind of stuff that's just golden to me, and I remember it so well. Couple of things came to mind. Okay, here you'll remember this maybe. We were in a small town in Alabama, and you and I were in semi-main, and Tom Pritchard, who was a great wrestler, and Wendell Cooley were in the main event, and we were back cooling off. I was taking my clothes off. I'm getting ready to get in the shower. And about that time, one of the security guards comes running back and says, fans are hitting the ring. What had happened is a fan didn't like Wendell, and he was the good guy. Tom was the heel, and Tom tried to turn the heat around. But Wendell was a little bit of a heel in his own right, you know.
I'll tell you something. It's funny because I was on the same card as him a few times after, and he was telling the story, and he got bigger and braver, and all the rest of it, and he was saying like, yeah, I was fighting them all. There must have been 30 people hitting the ring, and I was fighting them all on my own and all that kind of stuff. He got to that stage.
Yeah,
I couldn't
right.
find it anymore, because I'll tell you exactly what happened. Is that he ended up punching a kid who was trying to get into the ring, and that's what started it. All of a sudden, everybody was hitting the ring. Do you know the first
he kept
person
inviting this kid into the ring, though.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you know the first person that hit the ring to help him? Linda.
Probably Linda, yeah. I remember
Linda,
we had just gotten out of the ring and we were fighting back to back.
And we were throwing people out all over the place. And I'll tell you what, I like Wendell and all the rest of it. I've had some great matches and stuff like that with him. But quite honestly, if he was hung for being a wrestler, he'd die innocent.
That's a great line. He sure didn't like when the fans booed him.
Yeah.
You know, being a baby face, he thought everybody should cheer him. But I just found it really ironic that they come back to the dressing room and tell us that we need help out here. And we're like, what's the matter? And they said, fans are after Wendell, and all of us kind of like said, oh, well, kind of laughed, and then we looked out, and it was serious. like you said, I saw Linda out there, and we all came out, and we all, the wrestlers were fighting, but I just finished wrestling you, Adrian, and we're back-to-back, protecting each other, swinging at fans.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and I turned around, I thought somebody was bumping into me, and it was you. And what had happened is you'd gotten on my back, and so nobody could get to me, and basically, I guess, so nobody could get around behind you because we're clobbering people. And Linda was hitting them harder than we were. Probably I'd have rather been hit by either one of us than her.
And the thing is, especially after hearing him boasting about something that was absolutely untrue, ever since that date, I thought to myself, God almighty, I wish I'd left him to it.
Well, Robert Fuller, Jimmy Golden, and a few of us thought that before we ever hit the ring. I teach him a lesson, and he'll never do that again,
They're not the bravest guys in the world. Mind you,
no.
I've always been very brave, but I often wonder if being overly brave isn't being sort of kind of stupid. It's the bravest soldiers are the first ones to get shot.
Yeah, the Marines are the ones they put on the front line, and they're the craziest ones, right? I just want to tell you one quick thing that I remember that was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in the locker room, Adrian, was after we did the deal where I broke Linda's arm. They interviewed you in the back. I think Johnny Rich did it. I'm not sure. It may have been Ronnie West. But you actually cried. Yeah. And all the wrestlers were standing there watching you do this interview. And it was so heart-gripping and so emotional. After they stopped rolling the cameras, all of us gave you a standing ovation. I've never seen that.
And you know something? There was big bad wrestlers. There was big bad wrestlers bawling their eyes out.
Yeah, the Beast did. I didn't,
including myself.
Yeah. Well, you were so submerged into that part for letting us get a hold of Linda that man, that just. The thing is, though, I just put myself in that kind of frame of mind because I know that I should pretend to treat Linda rough and all the rest of it. I don't want to start getting emotional now, but I love that girl. I love that girl more than I love myself, and you know how much I love myself. Well. Wow! If you love her more than you do yourself, that's just incredible.
I tell you what, if Linda's in another room, I get lonely. That's how much I love her.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been together just about 24/7 since 1969. And
you got married at Cauliflower Alley 9 years ago this year, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, a couple of last things, and then I'll let you go, but I want Bob and Chase to get a chance to ask you something or anything as well. I'm sorry I've taken the time, guys. I felt so bad about what happened, and I was going to really break bad on Adrian, but I just couldn't even be heel after the screw-up. But after that interview,
aren't you fortunate? Because I'm as skillful with my mouse as I am with my feet.
Yeah, well, I cheat, mate. I fish hook and I eye gouge. You taught me that. But after you did that crying interview, I went from people spitting on me or maybe taking a slap at me to actually trying to kill me in that territory. So I don't know of any compliment that I could give a wrestler any more than that. You incited the fans to not only dislike me, but want to kill me. and you did your job. You did it well. I applaud you. We had some hellacious matches, Adrian.
Yeah.
We did, and they were safe. You know, we may look like we were killing each other, but we neither one were ever hurt, right?
I don't know about you, but I wasn't.
If you were, you wouldn't have sold it. You never sold crap.
Yeah.
No,
I've seen you bleed once or twice when you didn't want to.
Yeah, that is true. You opened me up a couple of times, but you also bled too. Actually, we both did.
One thing I wanted to ask, Adrian, my first live exposure to you was on Global, and I will confess to really kind of marking out at seeing someone that was, I thought, as world-renowned and as famous, coming, walking down the aisle, and so I was in awe of the whole experience. I just wanted to say that was a thrill for me to get to see you live and performing against Iceman Parsons and Rasta the Voodoo Man and some of the other characters that ran through the Global Wrestling Federation. It was a short run, but it was awesome.
That Iceman Parsons match was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was as close to a shoot as a shoot could be.
Yeah.
Am I not right?
He was a toughie, the Iceman.
And you didn't back up. He didn't back up, and it made for great TV.
Yeah.
It really was. You also wrestled in fact, I let it be known that I DVR the Global shows, and you were working against Young Boy for TV, and of course you were getting the win, and you were actually letting him, like a good babyface would, get some stuff on you, and apparently he hit you a little hard, and you went from selling to absolutely tearing him a new, what. You snapped him over and stomped him in the face, and there was no work about that. You let him know,
I'm not forgiving. People. If ever I go to the doctors or dentist, they say like, oh, are you allergic to anything? I say, yeah, pain. If anybody hurts me, I hurt him back. And the thing is, there's so much jealousy in the business. I tell you what, you really need to read my books because you'll really understand where I'm coming from with that. There's a lot of people would hurt you if they could, especially if they were not destined to win the match. They would hurt you on purpose, hoping that they'd injure you enough so that you'd be the loser and they'd be the winner. I don't play that game. It might be an accident, it might not. But if it's an accident, it means they're clumsy. And if they're clumsy, I'm clumsy. I've always, whether it's jealousy, whether it's to try to put one over on you and sort of win a match they're not supposed to or anything like that, I don't know. I don't care. If I get a split lip, I'll split their lip and their nose. If I get a black eye, they'll get 2 black eyes, and they'd have 3 black eyes if they had them. I take no. If anybody does anything that I think is either, I don't give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, occasionally I'll say, oh well, I'll let that one go. If they do it twice, then it's war. I don't care if it's clumsiness. If it's clumsiness, then I'm going to protect myself. If it's on purpose, there you go. I explain in one of the books that in order to tell stories that people will understand about wrestling, because wrestlers have got their own very strange sense of humor and their own sort of, for like a wrestling fan to be able to understand exactly where my stories are coming from, there's various things that I need to explain, the actual essence of professional wrestling. Now, I've gone on to explain that the most asked question, even way back in Europe and everything like that, the most asked question was, is professional wrestling real or is it fake? And I say my reply to that is yes.
Oh,
yes, it's real, and yes, it's fake.
Yes.
The thing
I agree.
is, the promoter, whoever was running the show, would tell you who was going to win, who was going to lose, or if you were going to draw. That's fake, I hear you say. No, not necessarily. They tell you who they wanted to win, but they didn't tell you how or anything else. And the thing is, just say for curiosity, so Terry, say, came over to, if Terry came over to Europe when I was wrestling over there, and I was still trying to make my way towards the top, if Terry came over there, I mean, they would have paid his fare over there and everything like that. They'd have a lot of money invested in him. So they'd want to make him into a star. He'd be doing a match with me, and they'd say, oh, Terry goes over. They want Terry to win. They've got, like, money. Not in my bloody backyard, mate, you're not. So as far as I was concerned, I'd carry out their orders. He might get the win in 4, but I'll tell you something. It'd be damn rough for him on the way there. And if the promoters were watching, I would give him such a pasting.
I'd never get over.
Yeah, no, I'd give him such a pasting. The promoters would go like, oh, we got him on another twice with him next week. We better let Adrian win because, like, the guy ain't standing a chance. I'm murdering him, you know what I mean? But the thing is, at the same time, if Terry'd come over and he'd know the score too. Hey, these guys have paid money for me to come over. They've got an investment in me and all the rest of it. If I'm going to make a star, if I don't sort of come up to their expectations, I'm not going to get the money I hope I'm going to get. And he's not going to be the star that he wants to be over there. He wants to make a good impression. So, I mean, he knows what I'm doing if I make it rough for him. And the thing is, he'll do everything he can possibly do to prevent me from domineering him and beating the crap out of him and showing the promoters. So at the same time, the promoters have said, like, who wins and who loses, but you tell me that match is fake. So, like I say, my response to, is it real or is it fake? When I say yes,
both.
Yes, it's real.
Yes.
Yes, it's fake, and yes, it's real. And that is what makes it exciting for the people, too. I love the fans and all the rest of it, and I love wrestling. But I'll tell you this now. I didn't become a wrestler for other wrestlers. I didn't become a wrestler for the promoters. I didn't even become a wrestler for the fans. I became a wrestler for me.
Right. Well, you taught me so many things, and one thing that you did teach me is that this is something that I still tell people to this day, They say, how did you prance around? How did you do this? How did you do that? And wear the pink and wrestle on a pink mat? The other wrestlers would ask me this, and you know what my reply was? It takes a real man to go out there and do that, and to wrestle in pink. In other words, you couldn't be scared of the fans, of your opponent, or anything else. You had to be ready for whatever came at you, whoever was going to jump you. And we both know we've had a lot of fans jump both of us. And I learned that from you. Most all the beauty, as I said before, was things that I basically stole from you, that I just tried to make my own and not be a carbon copy. And then probably the biggest compliment that I can give you, Adrian, is this, and then I don't want to take any more of your time. You've been more than generous coming on, is, I've known you for many years, and I know so many things about you that a lot of people don't, because we actually have been friends and shared a lot of stories and talked. When we talk on the phone, we talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours. But I still felt compelled to buy your books, and I'm going to read from the beginning, first book, through however many you write, because you're a very, very interesting man. You're a self-made man. You're not only a wrestler, you're an artist, you're a writer, you're a composer. You're just a very interesting story. Without you, there probably would have been no me, as far as the beauty goes.
Yeah, and don't worry what they say about your pink mat and all that kind of stuff. It takes a real man to wear a dress.
Well, you know me well enough to know that I never did care what they said, and I would go if I had to. In fact, Wendell and I actually got into a fist fight there in the apartments in Alabama one time, and that didn't bother me. I like mixing it up, and you know that.
Thank you, Adrian. And again, thank you, Terry. We will definitely have him back on. That is the great Adrian Street. As I noted in the introduction, we had a set window for show length, which unfortunately is what caused the abrupt end. Adrian and his wife/valet, Miss Linda, moved back to Wales in 2018, and I'm happy to report that they are both healthy and doing fine. Adrian posted pictures on his Facebook page yesterday, and he looks as strong as ever. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please spread the word. Peace out, everyone.